Right now, in the Middle East, a river that has flowed since the dawn of human history is vanishing. The Euphrates River is drying up at a staggering rate. Mainstream news will tell you it's just a severe drought or a climate crisis. But if you look at the Book of Revelation, this is not an ecological event. It is a countdown. Over 2,000 years ago, the Apostle John prophesied this exact moment in Revelation chapter 16. But the vanishing of the water isn't the scariest part. It's what the water has been keeping locked away. Revelation chapter 9 gives a terrifying command. Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. But here is the dark truth that most modern churches refuse to talk about. God does not put his holy angels in chains. These are not angels of light. They are ancient, malevolent entities, so dangerous, so destructive, that the creator of the universe had to lock them in a supernatural prison beneath the earth. Today, we are going to dive into the forbidden law of the Book of Enoch, the terrifying reality of the abyss, and why the drying of the Euphrates means the countdown has officially begun. If you are not spiritually prepared, you might want to click away now. To understand the nightmare of Revelation chapter 9, we first have to look at the location. The Euphrates isn't just a river. In biblical history, it is ground zero. Genesis tells us it was one of the 4 rivers flowing right out of the Garden of Eden. It was the absolute cradle of human civilization. But where God plants life, ancient evils gather to corrupt it. It was on these exact banks that humanity built the Tower of Babel, attempting to violently break into heaven. It was here that the great and wicked empire of Babylon rose to power. And deep beneath this region, a spiritual Supermax prison was established. Notice the specific wording in Revelation. The 4 angels are bound. Holy angels like Michael or Gabriel are free to execute God's will. They are never described as being chained in darkness. In biblical theology, the only spiritual beings placed in chains are fallen angels. Entities that committed crimes so horrific against God's creation that they were removed from the spiritual battlefield entirely. But who are these 4 specific entities? And what did they do to deserve a millennia-long sentence in the dark? To find the answer, we have to look deeper into ancient Jewish literature, specifically the Book of Enoch and the biblical letters of Peter and Jude. Jude chapter 1 verse 6 states, "And the angels who did not keep their proper domain, but abandoned their own abode, he has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the judgment of the great day." According to the Book of Enoch, before the great flood, a group of high-ranking angels known as the Watchers rebelled. They descended to earth on Mount Hermon. They made a demonic pact, took human women as wives, and birthed an abomination that corrupted the earth. The Nephilim, the giants. But their crime wasn't just genetic corruption. These fallen angels introduced forbidden knowledge to humanity. They taught men how to forge swords and weapons of war. They taught witchcraft, sorcery, and the very roots of violence. Because of this ultimate betrayal, God commanded the archangel Michael to bind the leaders of this rebellion. The punishment was so terrifying, so utterly hopeless, that as we've covered on this channel before, one of these entities actually begged Enoch to intercede. They pleaded to return to heaven because they were absolutely terrified of the dark abyss. But God's answer was absolute silence. They were buried under the earth, chained in the darkest abysses to await the final judgment. Many biblical historians believe that the 4 angels bound in the Euphrates are high-ranking generals of this ancient rebellion. For thousands of years, as empires rose and fell above them, they have been waiting in the mud, boiling with a hatred for humanity. We're about to look at the terrifying 200 million man army these entities will unleash upon their release. But real quick, if you want to look at the dark, ancient history and ancient prophecies the mainstream ignores, hit the subscribe button right now. Let's look at the swarm from the bottomless pit. What happens when the chains finally break? Revelation gives us a timeline that is terrifyingly precise. Revelation chapter 9 verse 15 says, "So the four angels who had been prepared for the hour and day and month and year were released to kill a third of mankind." Think about the sheer weight of that verse. God didn't just lock them away with a vague promise. There is an exact year, an exact month, an exact day, and an exact hour that is already marked on the cosmic calendar. Their release is an unchangeable divine appointment. And when they are freed, they do not act alone. The scripture tells us they will lead a demonic cavalry. John numbers this army at 200 million. He describes the riders wearing breastplates the color of fire and sulfur. The heads of their horses resemble lions, breathing fire, smoke, and brimstone. Their power is in their mouths and in their tails, which strike like venomous serpents. Some modern scholars try to claim this represents modern warfare, like tanks or ballistic missiles. But if we keep the biblical context, this is a spiritual invasion. These are ancient, demonic entities unleashed from the abyss, led by the angel of the bottomless pit, Abaddon, the destroyer. Their sole purpose, to wipe out 1/3 of humanity. In today's population, that is over 2.6 billion people. This brings us back to the present day. When you look at the news and see the Euphrates River turning to dust, it's easy to brush it off as climate change. But Jesus told us in Matthew chapter 24 to look for the signs of the times. He compared the end times to birth pains, starting small but growing closer together and much more intense as the final moment approaches. The elite and the wealthy of this world are already building underground bunkers, hiding in the rocks, just like Revelation says they would. But you cannot build a bunker deep enough to hide from a spiritual army. There is only one true protection. God is in complete control of the timeline. Those four ancient entities cannot take a single breath or break a single link of their chains until the Creator permits it. And if God has complete authority over the oldest, most dangerous fallen angels in existence, He has complete control over whatever you are facing today. The cross changed everything. It is the only blood signature that the angel of death cannot touch. The physical barriers that separate our world from the spiritual realm are thinning. The water is fading. The chains are straining. Are you spiritually prepared for what comes next? If this video opened your eyes, share it with someone who needs to hear this warning today. Leave a comment below saying, "I am awake," if you stand with God in these final days. Help us hit our goal of 600 new watchmen by subscribing right now. And if you want to know about the terrifying biblical beasts that no one can defeat, click the video on your screen right now, and I'll see you in the next one.